And hello, everyone. Welcome once again to CCW TV, the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. I am Elliot Serrano, comic book writer and blogger for the Chicago Red Eyes Geek to Me. I am joined by my co-host, Jose Melendez, vendor here at Dreamline Comics, and blogger and media critic for the Inveterate Media Junkies.
Yes. And now a podcaster.
And now a podcaster as well. So if you've been wondering where the heck have those guys been, while we might not have been here on the CCW channel, we have been pretty busy. A lot of stuff's been going on over at Geek to Me. And Jose, an inside man who you will know from the CCW TV blog, have been furiously at work putting together the Inveterate Media Junkies website and podcast. You guys have already had 2 contests.
The second one ended today, or ends tonight.
Ends tonight as of this taping, which will be like earlier this week or last week, depending on when I can get this video up. You guys have given away the Scott Snyder books for the American Vampire contest, as well as copies of Superman Earth 1 by J. Michael Straczynski, which is actually going to be a topic of discussion today on CCW TV. So, again, while you might not see videos here, you can find Jose and myself out there on the interwebs doing our thing.
Yeah, and in case you guys don't know or haven't made it over to my new website, I'll put a link right here.
Right there.
Right here. And then that should take you to all of our just our regular website, and then our podcast links will be there too. But we also have a YouTube channel.
It has an enhanced podcast. You can go there if you go to this link here.
Go to that link.
Go to this
YouTube
link,
one.
and you'll see it's like kind of like a special edition of the podcast.
It's got the regular audio, but then you'll find pictures and stuff that we're actually talking about. So
does Brett Favre's penis ever show up?
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
If we talked about it, it may have, but we did not talk about it last week.
Well, I would think that if you talk about Brian McElbendis, it might show up.
It might.
All right. So anyway, let's jump into jump into a review that's also going to lead into some of the topics that we're going to talk about this week. The first thing that is on our plate, because we haven't talked about it in a bit.
Yeah, it's on our plate.
It's on our plate. Chew, numero 15, number 15, by, of course, friends of the show, John Layman and Rob Guillory. It's the issue 15 cover that John and Rob talked to me about in San Diego. If you go back in the archives here on the CCW TV channel, you'll see the interview that I did with Rob and John, and they talk about this very
mostly
issue.
Rob, because we couldn't hear
You couldn't hear John. John needed subtitles. He spoke so friggin' softly. I have spoken with John, and even before this issue, even when he was writing this issue, he expressed, well, to me and to a lot of his friends in the community, in the comics writing community, he expressed his concern because this really is kind of a game changer as far as the Chew series goes. And we've talked about this in the past where they kind of established the formula for Chew.
Mm-hmm.
And John could have very easily gotten comfortable with that formula and told all these different stories about Tony solving crimes. You know, it could have been like Law and Order or CSI with, Tony eating things and solving crimes and becoming a procedural.
Kind of gotten boring after a while.
Right. So at this point, John is taking, again, not just reshuffling the deck, but kind of like throwing out half the deck and introducing a whole lot of new cards.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of things that go on in here that actually he's been hinting at throughout the series.
Yes.
So it's not like he's just changing stuff out of nowhere. This has all been hinted at for like the longest time.
And John does have the long-term plan. He's talked about this in the past. He talked about this on...
well, as of this issue, it's now 25% done. It's now 25% done.
It's supposed to be a 60-issue run. It's already a quarter through, and you can tell major landmark hit in this issue. We meet the rest of Tony's family, a lot of his extended family. Of course, we've known his brother. But we get to meet Tony's sister for the first time.
His twin sister.
Twin sister, which they have a really, really interesting relationship. And we meet yet another member who I'm kind of reluctant to mention now because it's a huge spoiler.
Yeah, we shouldn't spoil it.
We shouldn't spoil it. But let's just say there is another member of his family that is introduced near the end of this issue that I don't think there was ever any hint that that person even existed.
There was a hint at the very beginning. With Mason Savoy.
Oh, yes, that's right. With Mason Savoy, yes.
This whole thing right here.
Yeah.
That was a hint, but we didn't know who it was.
We didn't know who it was. And it's interesting, too, because the way the storytelling's been plotted here, when you read that first four splash pages, and you sit there and you go, oh, come on. Why does Rob spend so much time with these sequences? Well, you see the payoff later on,
right,
which was really clever. And I got to say, Rob really had to up his game on this. I mean, this was a very challenging opening sequence for this book, which just goes to show how far along these, John and Rob have progressed as storytellers.
Yeah, not only that, but it actually gives a little hint that Savoy has lost somebody, and because he's spending Thanksgiving by himself.
Oh yeah, no,
and this is, again, this goes back to the whole why he's doing what he's doing.
What he's doing. And he really feels that there's this big conspiracy behind the whole USDA banning poultry. Why was John so concerned about this? Because, and how do we say this without again giving away spoilers? Well, okay, let's say stop it here, because I don't see any way of this. If you haven't read this yet, stop the video here, because now we're going to get into spoiler territory. If you want to be spoiled, I'm going to tell you, even if you hear these spoilers, I don't think it's going to really kill the book for you. But, there is a bit of a surprise. Not really a huge surprise, but a surprise. So stop it here. Come back after you read it. Okay. What the fuck? What's going on in outer space is my question. Now, remember the whole thing when Tony was finding that chicken that tastes like chicken?
Yeah, that fruit.
That fruit that tastes like chicken. That
when
really,
he ate it, it came from outer space.
It came from outer space.
Right.
So you're like, what? What is going on here? And I know this is probably why John was really concerned.
Right. Well, and then this goes back to it. I think it was issue 4 when they were in that in the Arctic.
Yes.
In the observatory.
At the observatory.
And those people are watching a certain planet.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that's where this fruit comes from.
Possibly, yes.
And possibly.
Well, and again, it just shows that there is an overall. John does have this big arc that he wants to tell. It's not that he's just making up shit as he goes.
Right.
But yeah, this whole thing with something going on in space overhead is just really kind of. I don't want to say it's surreal because it's done in a very grounded way, in a very realistic way. It's not like you think, oh, this is a dream or this is coming out of nowhere. But yeah, the book runs the risk of going from being a CSI to now Independence Day.
Right.
Which is, I think, what John's concern is. That it's just, it might completely lose the tone.
But I like the fact that nobody in the comic knows what's going on, too. So Tony Chu's reaction is pretty much what our reaction is when we see what he's, what he's looking at. We're like, yeah, what the fuck's going on?
And then, little thing, when John sent me the advanced PDF to read, he asked me my opinion. He says, what did you think of it? And I responded, wow. Then he wrote me back. He said, wow as in good or wow as in bad. And I said, no, wow as in good, because that little scene at the end where Tony is holding hands with his daughter, I thought that was very touching.
Yeah, it was.
And
it was just like him and Amelia, and then she comes in and Amelia holds hands with
and they're all holding hands. And then to which John responded, fag.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
So John, he's of course joking, and John and I, are good friends, so we tease each other like that. And John's gay anyway, so
that's okay.
Yeah, he asked what you thought about it. Did you tell him what you thought about it?
No, he has my email address, and we've talked via email a few weeks ago, but he He sent me the PDF, but he didn't even bother to ask me.
Thought?
Nope.
No, because that's what he got. He goes, okay, so you liked it. What did Jose think? I'm like, ask him yourself.
He never sent me an email.
You know what? I think he's shy. I think that's what it is.
Well, you should have seen some of the pictures that he sent me. He wasn't that shy.
What? Will those show up in immediate?
Maybe the enhanced podcast.
Enhanced podcast.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
But no, I actually was tweeting about Chew, and I was busting his balls about how much it was terrible. But because he never asked for my opinion. I don't think he even saw those. But if you wanted my opinion, you could have asked me. But now he's gonna get it regardless. But anyway, it was good. I understand why he was worried too, like you were saying, because it completely changes. But at the same time, yeah, how many times can Tony Chu go on cases where he just eats shit? And I know, somewhere down the road, maybe the halfway point, they're gonna kind of have maybe Tony Chu doing something similar to what he was doing at the beginning of the book,
right? Just
to like bring people back, like maybe he's down on his luck and now he's like eating stuff again for the FDA and stuff, and they'll show you, well, this is how the book used to be, and it's not like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like poking fun. So I think that he'll probably go back to it at some point and reference that. But I like the fact that I don't know what the hell's going on anymore.
Yeah, and it's interesting where the book is going to go now. I don't know. It's risky. It's really risky.
It is risky, and I just hope that Pollo finds his way back into this new story arc, because that's the only reason I'm really buying this book still.
You're not buying it for issue 17?
Oh, yeah, that fat ass that shows up in issue 17? Yeah, John told me about that.
Just so you know, it's been dubbed the prison romance issue. So you're really going to want to pick up issue 17.
So this is actually the story that you told me about you and John in San Diego? He's referencing that story, right?
He references everything. Everything that happens in Chew is something that's actually happened to him. That bit at the end, Aurora Borealis. Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's end this review on that. Chew, as always, gets the CCW Nation stamp of approval. If you haven't been picking up this book, definitely do. When we come back, we will be talking about the controversial happenings in the Batman universe. We hope you join us.
All right,